I'm Thea Enos, and I'm the owner of Shopgirl Consignment here in downtown Gresham. I'm also a vocalist and a voice actor. And I have been in Gresham for 4 years, but have lived in outer southeast Portland since 1994. I grew up in Northern California, Vallejo, Sacramento, Placerville, and moved up here after completing my associate's degree to finish my bachelor's degree here. Went on and did my graduate degree and worked for 20 years in higher education. I loved it. I loved working in a mission-oriented organization. Specifically, I worked with adult learners who were working to return to college, maybe to start a degree they never began or to finish a degree they didn't finish. And they are a precious population of eager and often frightened learners. And although that setting may seem like a tangent to what I'm doing now, or even completely disconnected to what I'm doing now, it's actually beautifully connected, because even in my work here, I am working with people who are in sometimes a vulnerable situation. We often don't think about the vulnerability of consigning, bringing your clothes for somebody else to assess. It's very vulnerable. The beauty is the stakes are low. In my old job, sometimes I was talking to somebody about whether or not they were going to graduate after all the time and financial investment. And that's a very weighty subject. And in here, we're talking about clothes. So it's nice that that's a little lower stakes, but still precious connections with people. I first started shopping secondhand when I lived in California. And that's also where I first started singing. I never wanted to be a professional singer. I just wanted to enjoy being able to make music. And there was a little consignment shop in my downtown Placerville on Main Street, and it was called Violets Are Blue. And I would shop there starting at about the age of 14, and loved finding the treasures and the deals and supporting a small business. Even at the time, that was something that I appreciated. And always thought, boy, someday it'd be so cool to own my own consignment shop. But I never saw myself as an entrepreneur. My older brother, Trevor, is an entrepreneur, very like the typical entrepreneur. And he lives in Colorado, and he has built a very successful business there. I was somebody who likes to step into an existing stream and then help direct it from there, as opposed to starting my own. So I never imagined that I would own my own business. I came to Gresham first as a resident of outer southeast Portland because I was looking for a consignment shop for my clothes. And I had already taken the things that I thought were the best of the best into the consignment shops in Portland. And they took nothing. They took not a thing. I was not cool enough. And I laugh because really, that's cool. But anyway. And then I did a Google search and I found the shop that's here. It was Always Fabulous Consignment at the time. And I brought my items here and they took everything. And I left, and these were the words I thought to myself: I have found my people. And then I became a consigner and a shopper at this store, and really loved downtown Gresham. It's so sweet. It's so walkable. It's so both user and car friendly. The cafes, the restaurants, the other little shops, it just is such a great little place to visit. So I loved having a reason to come out here. In the spring of 2018, I was making some big changes in my life. I had already left the position at the college to be home with my son. At the time, he was 5 and going to start formal schooling the following fall. And I wanted to have some time with him where I wasn't working. And then made some other major life changes. And at that time, I was looking to start working again, preparing for him to be in school, and got an email from the shop owners of Always Fabulous Consignment that they were having to close because the buyer that they were hoping to sell to wasn't able to carry forward with the shop. And it took me about 12 hours to process the first, oh, that's too bad, I sure hate to see them close, to, I've always dreamed of owning my own consignment shop on a main street in a little downtown. Could that even be possible? That was on April 1st of 2018. And on April 26th, I wrote the check to buy the business. And it was terrifying and exhilarating. I actually walked the labyrinth at St. Luke's Church over on Toll to process whether or not this was the right decision, because I had lots of feedback coming to me, both positive and negative. And I knew at the end of that meditative walk, and I love that it's available to the public, that yeah, I was going to buy the shop. And I had already been looking for a new place to live. And so then I started looking here in Gresham. And I was already a regular at the farmer's market when it was over here in the parking lot. And I loved the apartments right there. It seemed so cosmopolitan to live in those balcony apartments looking over the downtown. And so I moved into that complex and started a life out here in Gresham. I describe it as taking a 90-degree turn in my life because it was such a different, new direction for me to go. And it's been wonderful ever since. There's so much about Gresham that appeals to the core of who I am. And a great example is this last Saturday morning when the Gresham Barlow Youth Baseball League kicked off. I may not have that name right. And I was asked to come and sing the national anthem. And I was out there in our main city park on a beautiful, cold but sunny Saturday morning. And there were 400 kids and parents, coaches, board members, and the mayor all at this event. And I thought, you know, for being the next door neighbor to a big city, I can't imagine the mayor showing up at an event like this in anywhere other than, you know, a town like Gresham. And I can say hello to the mayor by name, and we have a conversation, and I can meet the city councilors and have lunch or brunch with those members. And they're real human beings that I can have a conversation with. And I love being involved in that way, and I would never have been able to do that in a larger city. I think one of the things that being a business owner in Gresham has afforded me, and it's an opportunity that's available to any business owner, but you have to take it. You have to be willing to take the opportunity, and that is to network with other organizations that are small businesses and nonprofits that are here in town. And following my older brother's example, who was very civically involved in his town in Colorado, and also involved with the other business organizations, I joined the Chamber of Commerce right away, and also the Historic Downtown Business Association. And that July, read an article in July again of 2018, read an article in the Gresham Outlook about a new branch of 100 Plus Women Who Care, which is a philanthropic organization here in East County. It's a national organization, and it's very regionally based so that we can support nonprofit organizations that are working in our immediate community. I read the article about how they raised in one night $10,000 for Camp Collins by each woman present writing a $100 check. And I thought, that is a powerful group of people to be a part of, to affect change and support amazing work being done, and not in the piecemeal way of just here and there and never knowing where your money goes, but to combine it together with other women in Gresham who are business owners, who are civic leaders, and who are just wanting to participate in the community. And in one night, we give away $10,000 to a nonprofit. That's so powerful to me. So I also immediately joined that organization. And because it meets quarterly, the financial requirement is manageable most of the time. And when it's not, they understand. And so it's not like it's not an overweighty commitment to be a part of that. But as a result of being a part of that group, 100 Plus Women Who Care East County, I've learned about some of the many organizations that we do have working here in Gresham, in East County, and immediately serving the needs of our residents. And they're inspiring. One of those is the Seroptimus organization. I am a big fan of the Seroptimists. When I was working at the college, I was the director of academic advising and also one of the college professors. And the Seroptimists have a yearly gift to a woman who is an adult learner to support her going to college. And what I love about the Seroptimist philosophy on this is that they do not put any strings on how that person uses those funds. They are to be used to support that person going to college. It can pay for books, it can pay for tuition, it can pay for gas, it can pay for childcare, it can pay for car repairs, because all of those things can be barriers to a woman completing her degree. And that is so moving to me, that there's that greater understanding of the human being and what kinds of things in our lives move us toward or away from success. So the other thing the Seroptimists do is work with an organization called Free the Girls, which is again a worldwide organization that is working to help free women who are being sex trafficked in their countries. They collect bras to provide those to these women in countries where they are either more likely to be sexually assaulted, trafficked, or already in the being trafficked. And the reason why a bra matters is because if you are wearing a bra in some of these countries, you are seen as higher class and less likely to be attacked. And it's a very sad reality, and yet it is a simple and powerful way to help a woman gain independence, self-sufficiency, and freedom from the horrors that can be done. So Shop Girl Consignment has been lucky enough to partner with the Seroptimists and tangentially with Free the Girls to collect bras from women in our area that can then be sent to Free the Girls, who then sends them on to these women in need. And so we have collected hundreds of bras over the last year, and the Seroptimist team will come pick them up and they take care of them from there. But it's wonderful to be a location, just a drop off. Somebody can do that very easily. And frankly, a lot of women have bras they don't know what to do with because they don't fit, they don't work anymore, whatever it might be. We also partner with the Moms Club of Gresham, which is a Facebook group, who provides donations of pads and tampons and other toiletries to the Portland Rescue Mission for women who are homeless, because no matter where you live or don't live, you still have your period. And everybody deserves to have dignity when they're on their period and off their period. And I've had some wonderful customers who may not be at the stage of life where they are still getting their periods, but they will go and buy packages of pads and tampons and bring them in for donation to the Portland Rescue Mission. I love it so much. We're also partnered with New Avenues for Youth, and they're an organization that serves the homeless youth in our area. In the way that we are partnered is that we're designated a safe space. And that means that if there is a person in danger who needs a place to be safe until they can be connected with New Avenues for Youth to the resources that they need, they can come here. And we will feed them and give them water and a place to be safe and calm and rest until they can get what they need. And these kinds of things have come across our radar a lot of times, again, through Gresham Chamber, and just making connections and finding out that they exist and then saying, I can help with that. I'd love to do that. So those are the primary, secondary, and tertiary forms of philanthropic opportunities that we've had being here in Gresham. For the first time in all the years that I've lived up here, I found the place that feels like home. Gresham feels like home to me. And I haven't felt home since I was a teenager in California. So that's very powerful to me. to find a place where I can put down my roots and then raise out my branches. And because there is so much access to the leadership of Gresham, whether it's the business leadership or the political leadership, then I feel like I'm in a place where I have opportunities to affect real change, to partner with whether it's city council or other business leaders, and find real, tangible, and doable solutions to challenges. And I feel like I'm doing a political commercial, and I'm not. I find so much meaning in what feels like very real opportunities out here, and that there is a lot of interest. The people of Gresham, many of us are newer to the town of Gresham, but there are many, many people who have lived here their whole lives, their parents' lives, for decades, and they're so invested in Gresham as a place that they love. And I know that right now there's a lot of despair, a lot of frustration, and a lot of demoralization. It's clearly not unique to us. It's not even unique to Portland and Gresham. It is all over the country right now. And it's an incredibly challenging time. And that frustration can either lead to, as Tom Hanks once said, despair, and there's no cure for despair. Or it can turn into real mobilized action. And I think one big difference that I see out here, even compared to other places in the country, is that we really could mobilize for improvement and action. So there may come a time when I decide that I'd love to join the city council, and I might choose to run for office in that way. Or I may just continue to see where else I can reach out in the city through the work that I do here at the shop. Where are places, for example, where we donate our leftover clothes, how we participate in local fundraisers and things like that, just to support the work that's already going on. I don't have big dreams. I've never been one of those people that knows I was meant for something more. I like blooming where I'm planted, and I really feel like I've been able to bloom here, and it's where I want to stay. Both my maternal and paternal grandmothers influence me in what has become this shop. The day that the chamber did a ribbon cutting here, I wore a dress with a matching coat that's a fabulous combination that belonged to my dad's mom. Her name is Thea. And she was a very classy dresser, just classy. And not at all flashy, not showy, although I did find some things of hers from the 60s that, they qualify as flashy. They were quite cool. But all the way through the time that I knew her in her life, she was just always put together, beautifully done, nicely matched. So fashion and an eye toward those details and classiness definitely comes from my dad's mom, Thea. My mom's mom, June, was a thrift shopper, and she was a collector. These days we might call her a hoarder. Apologies. But she is the one who taught me how to shop garage sales, flea markets, and thrift stores. I remember going around her small town in Northern California in the back of their pickup truck with a giant yogurt container of quarters that she had won at a casino in Nevada, because she often went to casinos in Nevada. And she would give me this big thing of quarters to spend at the garage sales that we went to around town. And I had so much fun buying treasure after treasure that were inexpensive and delightful. It definitely skipped a generation. My mom does not enjoy secondhand shopping. And so I get that from my grandma June. And the combination of the classy fashion, the high quality clothing, the details that matter, and then the secondhand, the resale, the treasures that you can find, and not having to go buy new all the time, consume more all the time. definitely the influence of both of my grandmas. And so if you come into the shop, there's a shelf up on the wall behind the register where I have some relics, if you will, artifacts from both grandmothers, and representing to me who they were. One of them is a cute hat that my grandma June had in her collectibles business, and it still has her handwriting on the tag. And the other are a couple of things that my grandma Faye wore. A teeny tiny belt that could only have fit a teeny tiny woman like her, a beautiful silver night bag, and some other sweet things that I have in here to just kind of have an homage to the role that those two women played. The other thing that they both were they were both savvy businesswomen. My grandma June owned her own tax business and did quite well in her life, working 4 months out of the year. And my grandma Faye was very astute with taking opportunities when they were presented financially. And so I also inherit that from them, and I am so grateful. I said earlier that I didn't consider myself an entrepreneur, and yet the more I observe my behavior, the more I realize I do that a lot, actually. So about 20 years ago or so, I decided, I was having that conversation that we often have of, if money were no object, what would you love to do? And I said, I would love to be singing with a band in a nightclub. And then I realized that where I was placed at the time, which was at the college, I had access to resources where I could pursue that. And I connected with the jazz music professor, and he connected me with local jazz musicians. And a couple years later, I was working with a band, and I've been singing with my band Mosaic for, like I said, about 20 years now. And I've also had the opportunity to sing with multiple other artists in the Portland and Gresham area, which has been so much fun, so much fun. The music community here is very vibrant and full of very talented people. Over the last year, I also decided that I wanted to turn my love of reading children's books out loud and doing silly voices and accents into something that maybe I could earn some income doing, like audiobooks. And so I've gone into voice acting. And ultimately, I think my niche is in reading children's books, which I think would be a blast. But I actually love doing voices for multiple different scenarios and contexts. So I just am exploring that right now. And recently, Shop Girl Consignment has added what we call closet consultations, another really entrepreneurial step that I did not anticipate, but comes pretty naturally to both Jen and me, which is to help people find the clothing items that make them feel like their best selves. And some of those things are already in their closets and they just didn't know it. Some of them are pieces they might need to bring in to spruce it up. And the goal is that by the end of our time with them, they feel wonderful. So those are the things that I've launched into and could never have foreseen even 5 years ago. It's awesome. Community is optimism. And that is something even I'm struggling with these days. And I'm a natural optimist. But community thrives in optimism, where we believe that the best can happen. And we believe the best in each other, and we believe the best for each other. And it's understandable that these days where so much scarcity is our reality, whether it's higher prices or challenging political situations or whatever it might be, we often are feeling these days like we have to protect and territorialize and close off and just hang on to the things that we still have. And community is really the opposite of that. It is opening and open hands and open arms, and it's saying, even if I don't have much, I still have something I can give. And so that optimism is finding where that openness can be in each of our lives and finding ways to support each other. A great example of open-handedness came from another business owner who I only know through Facebook at this point, but we've interacted quite a bit over the last few years. And she is a dynamic entrepreneur, owns multiple businesses, and very creative and very skilled. And I put out a post in the Gresham community asking for help with learning how to trim and manage some bushes in my backyard. I've got a rose bush and a peony and a rhododendron. They're all new to me. I did not plant them, and I don't know what to do with them. And she reached out and said, I would love to do this, and then we could meet in person. And I offered to pay her. I believe in paying people for their expertises. And she's politely declining. We'll work something out. But she is a busy woman. She has a family. She has multiple businesses. And when I put this request out to the community, I was expecting somebody who is already perhaps an arborist working in this field to be willing to do this. And instead, she's a wonderful example of just, nope, I know how, and I would love to share it with you. In this time of scarcity, that is really hard to find, and I'm blown away and I love it. I think there's more of that than we may even realize. Gresham is what Portland wants to be when it grows up. Gresham is diverse. And as Judy Hahn said, I thought she said it so beautifully, Gresham is real. The diversity here is real. It is not manufactured. It is not nichified. It's not trucked in. It is people living out here doing our best to meet the needs that we have. And the multiple languages spoken, all of the shades of human, all of the different food opportunities, all of the different grocery opportunities. There are so many things out here that reflect the diversity that is natural and real, organically happening in Gresham. Gresham is hurting. Gresham is really hurting right now. And rather than people experiencing apathy around it, they're internalizing the hurt. And that means that there's investment. There's emotional investment in the community. You don't feel loss if you didn't lose anything. So that investment means that if we can, again, link hands, be open, not guarded, and connect to each other, then we could actually really move forward positively and make the changes that I think we all know we want to see. We need equity in housing. We need equity in healthcare. We need equity in so many areas. And I think this community has an opportunity to find that equity for each other. And Gresham is promising. I keep saying the word opportunity. We really have so much because there are so many invested individuals who live here. Whether they're business owners, they're civic leaders, they're the individuals walking down the street. There's so much emotional, mental, financial investment in our community that we can find the promise that I think we're imagining could be ahead of us.